Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by my man, Audley Stephenson, the Odd Man.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living Podcast, where our ongoing goal is to help you live your best audacious life ever. Totally thrilled to have you join us today, and I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to join us. This podcast is dedicated to empowering you with the insights, tools, and inspiration you need to transform your aspirations into reality. Now, think of living an audacious life as training for a marathon. Just like in personal training, setting a goal is crucial. It gives you direction and purpose. However, achieving that goal isn't just about a single sprint. It's about embracing the journey, enduring the long runs, and acknowledging that real changes take time. Delayed gratification is like the training plan you follow, where the rewards come after months of dedication. Setbacks along the ways are those akin to tough training days when you hit that wall. Each one is an opportunity to learn resilience and come back stronger. In today's episode, our guest Devan Gonzalez emphasizes that the hurdles that we encounter lead to unexpected growth and success. He is a dynamic entrepreneur, a personal trainer who's transformed his passion for fitness into a thriving business. As the co-founder of Strive 11 Fitness, Devan has built a six-figure personal training business and is now expanding into franchises with locations across the U.S. Devan's journey from a martial arts instructor to a fitness entrepreneur showcases his commitment to self-improvement, teamwork, and making a positive impact in the lives of others. Devan's insights are incredibly relevant to this episode, as it embodies the principles of goal setting, resilience, and delayed gratification, both in fitness and business. His experiences and core values serve as the guiding light for those looking to elevate their lives and pursue their dreams. So now that we've got the table set, let's turn to our conversation with Devan. Enjoy. Hey, Devan, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you for making the time to be here, so thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Listen, I am always appreciative of individuals that want to come out and hang out a little bit and really share insights. I think the idea of really helping individuals get to a better place in life is just an awesome feeling to be a part of. And so thank you for helping me fulfill my own personal mission, as well as being a guest on the podcast. This is great.
Definitely.
Now, fitness is your thing, and fitness is something that we all should prioritize or care about. Our bodies are meant to move, and so movement should be something incorporated because of all the benefits, obviously from a physical health standpoint, from a mental, emotional, psychological. There's so many great offshoots that come out of that, and so it only makes sense that we have a conversation on the Audacious Living Podcast how important fitness is. So maybe as a starting point, Devan, I can get you to maybe describe to our audience a little bit about who you are, the work you do, and what's got you to the point that you're at now.
Yeah, definitely. My background is, I was a personal trainer, and that didn't just stem from, I always wanted to be a personal trainer, right? It came from me being a martial arts instructor, going to college and realizing I needed a different job, right? And so that led me to finding personal training and really finding my purpose and my passion, right? Because that's all of a sudden I switched my major from business management to kinesiology, which is just the study of human movement. And once I learned that was a thing you could study in college, I was like, well, this is way more fun than, accounting or, the classes I was currently in. And so I switched that, did personal training for a few years and grew a six-figure personal training business, all in person, not an online business. And that led me into scaling into Strive 11 Fitness, which is a gym that me and my business partner opened. And we just launched the franchise aspect of it last year. So now we're actually opening up a new franchise location in Tampa, Florida. I'm based out of Los Angeles. And we should have, a location coming on in Vancouver, Washington soon, and some in Texas as well.
Wow. That's awesome. That sounds like it's definitely a journey, particularly when you started on one path, you ended up somewhere else.
Exactly. I mean, I was gonna go the firefighter route because my parents wanted me to do take a career, and I was like, okay. So I started going that route, and then it led me into having a self-talk with myself and be like, is this what I really want? Right. And came to find out that I didn't want to go that route. I was just doing it because that's what I thought would be the safe route. And, I was like, I'm just gonna take a bet on myself and, figure out what's along this journey.
Well, congratulations for doing that, man. Like figuring it out. I oftentimes say, everything in life is figure outable. So you definitely done that. I guess so. I mean, so a couple of angles I want to look at this. So I think the conversation around business is important, and even success in business is important. But let's kind of delve into personal fitness, if you will, for a second here. Again, we all know what it is. We don't all like to do it. Some are passionate about it, some aren't. I wonder if you can sort of talk about how from your perspective, the significance of fitness in living an audacious life.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my thing is fitness as base level as people, think of it as like, oh, it's to look good and feel good. It's like, yeah, to a degree, but fitness has so much more to offer. And from the standpoint of it starts with goal setting, right? You go to the gym because there's a goal in mind, whether it is to feel better, whether it is to lose weight, gain muscle, whatever the case may be. So it's that first skill development, especially in teenagers and even people that have never been to the gym. It's like it helps you understand that your goal is going to take some time. Right. So now you have the aspect and the skill development of dedication, consistency, because those are skills and tools that need to be developed. You need it. Being consistent isn't a one-time thing, right? There's days you don't want to go to the gym and you go either way. And so with living an audacious life and setting goals for yourself, you realize that there's ups, there's downs, there's days you feel like it, there's days you don't feel like it, but you do it regardless of the fact, of how you feel or what's going on in your life, because you need to do it in order to achieve the results in the lifestyle that you want. Now, the other thing that I love to intertwine business and fitness, and even more so that I'm in the fitness business, but is the fact that like delayed gratification, right? You go to the gym today, you give it all you got, and you lift up your shirt and no change. So you go again tomorrow, give it all you got, lift up your shirt, again, no change. But over time, over the first week, over the first month, you start to notice those compounded small changes. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, now I'm starting to see a little definition. Now I'm actually seeing the scale move. And so that compounded, those changes lead into what is delayed gratification. You don't see those changes in business, in life, in relationships right out the gate. But all the interactions, all the time invested start to compound into what you aspire to, achieve.
Sounds like you're describing patience to me.
Yep. Exactly.
It's funny because even the illustration of seeing those gains, I think everyone can relate to that. Like, it's not the thing you do the one time. You're like, okay, now look, where am I at, kind of a deal. And that and in some cases that might even discourage you because you're not seeing what you expected to be the results. You didn't get what you wanted, so you say it's not working, and you gave up, right? And as opposed to staying course and staying and following through.
Exactly. And I mean, no path to success or no path to growth is a straight linear line upwards, right? It looks essentially like the stock market, the S&P 500, right? There's ups, there's downs, there's big ups, there's big downs, and as long as you're net positive or net up, right, then essentially that's all you want. And you have to realize that the downs that you face or the obstacles that you face in not just fitness but in any area of life, like that is part of the developing you into the version of you that needs to be developed so you can become that person or achieve that goal, right? For me, I didn't know how to run necessarily a business when I had my personal training company. I knew how to run my job as a solopreneur, but then there was obstacles placed at me at a business level. And then now launching the franchise in becoming a CEO, again, it's like these things are forging you through the fire. That's part of the process. And you have to not get hard on yourself because you hit a plateau, because you hit a wall. It's like you have to look at it and change the perspective, change the lens to realize it's like this is a not an obstacle. It's a time you get to grow. This is a time you get to learn and develop.
So thank you for talking about that and even referencing the plateau, because so we've got on this podcast, and something I use in even speaking engagements, what have you, is something called the BOLD framework. And the BOLD framework is essentially made of 4 letters, BOLD. The B is the one that I want to touch on, because you said something that triggered that. So the B stands for better than yesterday, which really speaks to constant improvement, constant growth, always getting better. You don't go to the gym one time and say, I've worked out, I'm good. Right. It's an ongoing process. And what I'm definitely hearing that framework, that philosophy in what you described, but also even what you've done in the business world. If someone had said from the very beginning, you'll be having franchises all across the country, you'd have been like, huh? Like, we're not there yet. You haven't even got to ground one yet, right? You haven't started you haven't opened the first gym, never mind everywhere else. But you build on it, right? The concept of building on what you do. And so, yes, you did this today and it was fantastic. Celebrate the wins, feel great about your accomplishments, but then what's next? And you're always striving for that what next. It's similar to you climb a mountain, you get to the top, there's another big mountain to climb. So go for that one, kind of a thing. And that's sort of what I'm hearing and what you're describing, at least.
No, definitely. And I mean, I'll say that for me too, it's not necessarily, if someone would have told me like franchising and being like, hold on, like I like to think of things like set big, audacious goals. Like for me, franchising, hitting 100 locations is the goal, right? And it's like, that doesn't necessarily mean I need to know the roadmap all the way there. Right. And so I knew I wanted a franchise before I opened before the gym was open. But did I know when I was going to franchise? No, I didn't know if I was going to open up 5 locations of myself and then franchise. Like that part wasn't a real thought yet. But it was the fact of, okay, you're in it right now. There's ups, there's downs. Each mistake, and believe me, I've made mistakes that were thousands of dollars mistakes. Like I didn't view that mistake as, dang, I just lost $1,000. Right. I looked at that as, okay, well, some people hire a mentor, right? I mean, I have mentors right now too, but sometimes you hire a mentor, sometimes you buy a course, sometimes you go to college and you pay money for these, right? This mistake I just learned, even though I lost the money, that was the money I just paid essentially to learn to never do that again. Right. And so it's like when you reframe certain things, as much as it sucks, it's like you can reframe it and to understand the real lesson behind it. And to what you're saying, the better every day for, your framework, like that's our core values here at Strive. The acronym is actually Strive. And the first one is self-improvement. Right. And that's because not just because we're a fitness business, but you need to become or try to become 1% better every single day, because as a business owner, as a trainer, in everything, you have a ripple effect on others' lives. And as a member, you're here trying to make yourself better 1% every day, and you're having a ripple effect on your family member, on your friends. And you don't know, because most people won't tell you who, that you're an inspiration to them. They just look up to you. So out of 10 people that, you're really inspiring, one person might actually tell you. Right. So you're not doing it for that recognition. Right. But that recognition is part of it, indirectly. And so for us, we know getting better has that ripple effect on our members' lives. How are we going to tell them to, do this and that, and us do the complete opposite?
Right.
They're going to be, you're the one on the pedestal. I want to be that. I'm just going to do what you're doing. Right. So I think it's just important to realize that sometimes like you have these goals, you have these dreams, you don't know how to get there yet. That's okay. Because even if you think you know the whole process to get there, I guarantee there's a lot you don't know yet.
Yeah, no, it's the idea. I think Martin Luther King Jr. the quote speaks to the fact that you're taking that first step even though you can't see the entire staircase. Like having no idea where it goes, but taking forward anyways. And I oftentimes joke and say, look, you take a step and if you take a chance on something, one of two things are generally going to happen, right? You're either successful, right, which is what you wanted to be. So great, kudos, good to you, or you're not. So, okay, you got the success. We know that's a no-brainer. You're not successful. Let's examine that for a bit. Okay. So and to your point, like you now know what not to do. You know what doesn't work. You know how to do it, and probably how to do it even better than if you tried it for the very first time. So there's all sorts of benefits come from that. But the key in this, and it's a very important one you also alluded to, is a mistake without the lesson is the mistake.
Yep.
And so if you walk away from an experience and you do not take the lesson with you, that is where you made the mistake, because you undoubtedly are going to make that same mistake again.
Exactly. And that's where the E actually comes from in Strive 11. It's to lead by example, but also to extract the lesson, right? And so
well, let's go self-improvement. Let's go with Strive. ST, let's go. I'm going to jump all over here. Let's follow here. So we got the S down.
So S is self-improvement, right? Team is teamwork, right? R is respect. I is impact. V is vision. And then E is like a double-sided one, but it's, lead by example / extract the lesson. And that's because by extracting the lesson, you're able to lead by example and so forth, right? And so in that whole thing, those are my core values from a personal standpoint. And if you are an entrepreneur listening to this, realize that your core values for your business should be your core values, right? You can't have core values that, are contrast to what you truly believe, because then they will feel disingenuous when you're actually trying to implement them. And you're like, oh, these look good on paper, but you don't actually believe in them. We hire, we fire, we grow by our core values.
Yeah, no, the core values. I mean, that in itself is a whole other dialogue, because the core values really shape who we are. And what I love about being clear on your core values is then you have the ability to very clear on the actions that you choose to take, right? Mm-hmm. And so if those actions aren't in alignment with who you are, then you need to revisit whether or not this is something you should be doing. Now, I'm not here to tell you whether you should or shouldn't do them, right? But if you say to me, this is a goal I'm after, right? And you're doing stuff that are in line with the goal, then I'm going to say, I don't see it. What's happening? And you need to explain and articulate, at least, or if not to me, at least to yourself, right?
Exactly. I mean, you can try to lie to yourself, but deep down, what's really, the truth. And so at the end of the day, your core values should shape your direction, right? And for me, my biggest core value is impact. That I'm here to impact as many lives as I can while I can. So does this opportunity align with that? No, then okay. Then I'm just not going to do it. If that's just how I operate.
Got you. So we're talking about taking that first step and being audacious. I'm curious, what sort of is there a risk or a chance or something that you took that maybe you had success, or maybe you weren't successful? Because again, those, as we just talked about, the stuff you weren't successful for, and it still provides an opportunity for a learning lesson.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there's a risk and there's a chance to everything in life. Right. And for myself, for example, the first or the most recent ones would be, with the gym and everything like that. Like my business partner wasn't the first business partner that, I tried to link up with. And it wasn't that I needed a business partner. I just wanted someone to walk that journey with. I thought it would be more fun. But there was a point where, I, over the course of 3 years of, different potential business partners, different investors and all this kind of stuff, that I got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it by myself. I'm over this. And so that was, and then we finally linking up, and that first risk was, launching it with someone that you think it'll work with, but at the same time, you don't know what is down the road in 5 years, 10 years, and so forth. But any area of growth is a form of risk. You have to put yourself out there. I went from a W-2 employee to, launch my own personal training company and taking that first risk. Right. Having a 6-figure personal training company and basically having to drop that to be able to open the gym. Right. Now I'm going from 6 figures to no figures. Right. And so there's risk and reward to everything in life. And so certain people think that entrepreneurship is a bigger risk than a W-2 job, but it's not. Right. Is it more stressful? Maybe. Right. Depending on the business. But at the same time, that same stress could be at a W-2 job, right? Being an employee. You could also work there for 20 years and get let go. Sure. And you have no say about it. right? So it's like there's risk and reward to everything in life. You want to ask a girl out, she says no, well, now you get embarrassed, right? But she says yes, all of a sudden that's a win, and you look like a superhero to all your friends that thought you couldn't pull that girl, right? So it's like there's risk and reward to everything in life. You got to be willing to risk it, to reap those benefits and rewards, right? And so I will say that the gym wasn't, and the personal training companies weren't my first companies, that I tried and I just made it work. I had t-shirt companies. I had, I tried to do an online company, and I have a graveyard of ideas that never even got to the fruition of the company because I just either didn't align with it after spending months and months and building it out, and then being like, why am I even doing this? And so forth. And there's, so many of those. And it's one of those things where that's okay, right? It doesn't have to work. Everyone knows you for your successes. They don't remember all the failures or I wouldn't even call them failures, the lessons, right? Right now, people talk about the most recent, like Elon Musk. They think he's the owner of Tesla. Well, do you remember he was also one of the co-founders of PayPal, right? Like, and all the other things, it's like you look at people as they are right in this light. So if you're embarrassed or scared about it, realize if it works, what could this do for your life? If it doesn't work, what would that do for your life? Right? Because sometimes we want to take this chance to change our life, and we're scared about failing. But if we don't take that risk at all, we're already going to go down a path that is not what we want. Right? So then what's the risk of it not working? Because it only fails if you give up. Right?
That's right.
If you try again, you learn. I mean, Thomas Edison didn't build the first light bulb the first time. Right? It took him, 10,000 tries. And it's like, so he knew 9,999 ways that didn't work, but then one did, and boom, now we all have light.
Right. No, and I think those are great examples because you're absolutely right. Nothing comes at the first instance, and the thing is, as individuals, we're naturally resilient. We just don't recognize it. We forget. Like, I mean, you think of a baby learning how to walk, right? They don't care the fact they fell down; they keep trying, and that natural resilience that we have inside of us, as we grow and get older and run into more challenges in life, it wears it down and disappears in some cases, right? And so it's really about how we build that back up and how we develop that ability to bounce back from tough situations or hardships or setbacks or obstacles. I don't know, one or two thoughts from your perspective of the best ways that we can do that?
I mean, it's really just reframing and extracting a lesson like we're talking about. Like, setbacks are part of it, right? And because my thing is, you cross each bridge as it comes, right? And as easy as that is to say, that's truly how I view things, right? And my business partner, I can tell you right now, that's not how he views it, as much as I try to get him to. And so he's gotten better, but it's like there's so many what ifs, there's so many what if nots, and that we can formulate in our brain, but it's like that hasn't even, it may or may not happen. Why are we even thinking about that right now? Right? And so it's like, why not? This is what we got to do right now. Let's just focus on this. Focus on the task at hand. Right? And then once we cross that, like you said, take the next step. It's like, then you see what the next step is. If I can't see 5 steps down the road, why am I worried about what the 5th step is? Right? And so my thing is that we get wrapped up in our minds so much of these, all these external factors and everything. It's like, look, there's going to be setbacks. I'll tell you right now, I promise you. Like, I would put my life savings on it. You'll have at least one setback, right? And you overcoming that setback you're going to come out stronger on the other side. And everyone that has been successful on the journey that you're going on has had that setback or a similar setback or another setback in turn that you may not face, but everyone gets them. That's why it's valuable, right? Because it's valuable out of 3 reasons. 1, it costs something, financially. 2, it costs your time, or 3, it costs your actual effort that you need to put in, right? And so if it's not hard or it's not difficult to get, then you wouldn't value it as much.
Right. And I just think the thing that we forget is that the more we go through, the better we get. Right? Like, you build your resilience is building muscle, and using, no pun intended with a gym reference, but I mean, you build your muscles in the gym by the same way, and you build that resistance. And so not to say that when problems we know problems are going to come, but our response to it, like I can't see how we don't feel more confident if we run into a problem that we've already faced 10 times and we've gotten through it all 10 of those times. The 11th time should be a piece of cake,
Mhm.
right?
Yep. And then just realize that like, because you're going to face that problem and you learn how to overcome that problem sooner, right?
Yes.
And then as you grow, you're going to have, there's, at new levels, new devils, right? There's new obstacles
Ah,
at those new levels, right? And so you have to think of, like, I had to reframe this in my own head, like certain problems that I'd be facing now, the version of me when I opened the gym wouldn't even be able to fathom the solution to overcoming this,
mhm.
right? But you get to reflect on yourself and how much you've grown. And you're like, this problem is put in front of me now because I'm at the level of achieving this problem. Think about in grade school, we
Yeah,
don't give long division to kindergartners because they
no.
haven't gone through the other levels yet. Right. So you overcame these other levels already in your life. And now you get to face basically algebra, you know?
You graduated. Now take on the guy gets better. And I think though the challenges that we face again, it's in line with where we're at. But I think we need those in order to grow and develop. And life is about constant growth and development. You can't do that if you're, lifting the same weights that you've always lifted. Challenge yourself.
Yep. I mean,
Yep. I was gonna say a buddy of mine. We get into debates all the time when we go to the gym and works out because he wants to throw plates on. I'm like, nah, man. Let's. And I'm the guy like, let's work up into it. Let's take our time. Let's throw plates on. And it's funny because neither way is wrong, right? There's different approaches to it, and just suits on the individual and what works for them, right? So that's an important piece to keep in mind also.
yeah, and that's through learning yourself, right? Learning how you best solve problems, learning how you best strategize, right? For me, like I know, like we'll go into lifting, like for me, throwing on plates isn't the same for someone else throwing on plates, right? Let's say, one of the most common benches, exercise is bench press, right? I already know my warm up weight is, with 245s, right? So 135. And so for someone else, like that's already going to be one of their max weights, right? And so it's like you start to learn yourself and you start to learn your levels and your progressions and
Right.
what you're comfortable with, right? And trying to go at someone else's pace sometimes will get you hurt, and that which will basically take you off of your current path. So being comfortable and knowing that you're not comparing yourself to others, and just because you have similar goals means that you need to do a similar strategy. Your overall day consists of different things than theirs, right? It's
That's
like
right.
you guys aren't doing the same thing. You guys are going to face different problems, but you guys also learn differently. You guys engage differently. They might be someone that hears it and knows it right after hearing it. You might have to physically do it one time to know it. So it's like life is all about just starting to learn yourself.
Got you. Totally is. It totally is. I think that's a really key point. Last thing I want to ask you about is something that really an underlying theme here of what you've done, right? And you've essentially taken this thing that you developed as maybe as an interest that's turned into a passion and a career, and now you made a business out of it. Like that's sort of a remarkable thing. I'm sure many out there would be interested in or wanting to do that as well for themselves. Any suggestions, thoughts, advice, a starting point, or what do you think are some good things people need to keep in mind to?
I mean, I would say, what are you currently doing? Like it not just what do you do with your day, but like what are you doing right now that fills your cup, that brings you joy, right? And for me, that reflection came when I was like, okay, do I quit this to do this, or do I just dive more in? And realizing that I didn't even realize it was filling my cup, but seeing the looks on members' faces and seeing not just that I transformed their body, that they did the work, right? And so my whole thing was seeing someone else achieve this level of success or seeing that transformation and building that self-confidence in themselves was really what lit me up, and I wanted more of that. It was almost like I was getting a natural high from it, seeing other people succeed, and I was able to have a fraction of the help in their life's journey. Now for you, it's like, what in today, like at the end of today, what was your favorite part about today? right? And then take note of it. Tomorrow, what was your favorite part about tomorrow, right? And take note of it and start to see what's the favorite part of your day. What do you look forward to the most? And then it's like, well, I like, playing with my kids. Okay, cool. How, what were you guys doing? What was the favorite part, and how can you monetize it, right? Maybe it's, I love, like, for me, I even love when I'm drawing with my daughter. My daughter's 3 and she loves coloring right now, right? So it's like, can you monetize that? Can you maybe create coloring books and sell it on, Etsy or on, Amazon or whatever? And can you make this a business? Can this be something sustainable for you? And you don't need to be, burn the boats and dive all in. Like, start gradual, because this might be a door that leads to another door. So I will tell you, even for myself, that that's how things happen, right? You go down one path and all of a sudden you pivot, you're like on, and then pivot again. And all of a sudden you're on a completely different journey. But again, just take start of, what do I like doing? Right. And just see what happens.
It's very important to be clear on who you are, what you like, what gets you excited. I think those are very good starting points. And when you can do that, then you're off to the races. Mm-hmm. You're also an author, right? You've got a book. Tell us about the book.
So the book is called Money Muscle Mindset. It's basically a playbook for people that want to open a gym. Essentially, if you want to open any brick and mortar business, you can utilize the strategies in it. But I tailored it in the way that, I wish I would have had this book essentially when I was opening my gym, and some of the stories like with building Strive 11 Fitness and all that kind of stuff go into it to give context. But at the end of each chapter, I did a QR code that dives. It's a video of me and templates that you get to download, that correlate to each chapter, but you don't need to put your email in or anything like that to get it. It's all just, there. And essentially throughout the whole book, if you read it, start to end, it really dives into the mindset of being an entrepreneur, knowing that the first chapter and the last chapter, the symbolism is they're both on mindset, because everything begins and ends with your mind. If you believe you can achieve it, then it's a possibility. But the moment you stop believing you can achieve it, then it's impossible. It's not going to happen.
There you go. No, and I think that's important. The belief, we can't speak enough about the importance of having a belief system that guides you, because that will be the difference maker in the most difficult times and most challenging times. That belief will guide you through those moments. So thank you for sharing that. For our listeners, I want to connect with you directly or learn more about the work you do. Where can we send them, Devin?
I'd created just a landing page, which is just my name, devangonzalez.com. And it has everything with Strive, with, my social medias, everything right in as the one little hub.
Awesome. What we'll do, we'll make sure that the contact details in the show notes as well, so fans can, listeners can check that out. Listen, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time. The insights have been great, and I think that much congratulations for your success on turning a passion to a business. And thanks for being a guest on the Audacious Living Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Back we are here on the podcast, and much thanks and appreciation goes out to Devin for being here. In our conversation, Devin highlighted the importance of embracing setbacks as part of the growth process. He encouraged listeners to reflect on what truly, genuinely matters, what brings you joy, suggesting that this reflection can unlock potential paths for business opportunities. His core values of self-improvement, teamwork, and the impact not only shape his fitness business, but also define his approach to life and leadership. What I personally loved about the interview with Devin was his authentic passion for helping others transform their lives. His belief that every setback is a setup for a growth resonated with me deeply, and it reminded us that challenges are not the end, but rather stepping stones to success. If you'd like to connect with Devin directly or learn more about his work, you can find all the contact details in the show notes below. I highly encourage you to reach out, especially if you're interested in the fitness industry or looking for guidance on your own personal journey. Additionally, Devin has a fantastic resource for aspiring entrepreneurs. His book is called Money Muscle Mindset, and that serves as a playbook for opening a brick and mortar business right from start to finish. And he guides you through the process through that book. Again, check out the show notes for details on how to get your copy and any special offers that he may have for our listeners. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Audacious Living Podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please take a moment to like, follow, subscribe, or share this podcast with friends or family if you haven't already done so. Every bit of support helps us grow and reach even more individuals looking to live their most audacious lives. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living Podcast, hosted by Audley Stephenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.